This is King Corbo, and he's kinda lonely. That's the whole premise of Little King's story, actually. That this boy is given a crown by God that lets him control the minds of the weak-willed so they can do his dirty work for him. But without any of those people, he's just a guy. He can't dig, he can't build. Without the ability to command, he can't do much of anything. But he does have this, the Scepter attack. It's pretty underwhelming. This is essentially just a desperation measure to prevent players getting stuck if all their men have perished. In the off chance you say, have a citizen die just as they defeat a boss, then you can still free the princess afterwards. And it's required for the worrying labyrinth since Corbo is forced to brave it alone. It's just a last resort. It's slow, it's small, it's weak, and it's completely broken. Just for starters, mashing this attack just straight up won't work. I can't even really explain why, but hitting the button too early after hitting it once just makes Corbo stutter in place, and hitting it again in this state refreshes the stutter, and he just gets stuck. Yeah, you have to time the hits to get optimum scepterage. The size of this attack is also pretty deceptive. There's actually several hitboxes going on. The staff itself has one, and so do the stars, which have a slightly larger hitbox. If Corbo is too close to something, then the stars won't come out. But the hitboxes on the stars aren't just wider than the staff, but also seemingly taller. See this Oni on the ledge? See how obviously Corbo can't hit him from down here? Think again. Also, this thing can break constructions in progress exactly like attacking UMA enemies can, but only if you hit the construction itself, not the construction sign. Yep. There's also some bug that means that the bulb changes to a golden colour in certain scenarios, most notably after Omelet's fight, but only sometimes after this fight. I don't know how intentional this is, but Corbo's collision just sort of disappears during this attack. This is mostly fine, because he can't move directions while doing it anyway, so he can't just walk through walls. Except he can still be pushed through a wall, so if you're too close to an obstacle, up in you go! Even more simply than that, if you're pushed by wind effects from an Oni fan, yep, that works too, and now both of these are used in current speedruns. Oh, but the Oni King also has a wind effect on one of his attacks, and that one doesn't push you through walls. Why? I don't know. Why don't you tell me? Okay, but you might be wondering, wait, if his collision disappears, how does he not just fall through the ground? Good question. Corbo's vertical position is frozen in place until the attack finishes, which works out pretty well because he can't jump anyway, he's glued to the ground. But he can fall off ledges, in which case, hey, look at him hover. But you know, all this doesn't really matter in the long run, because it still does 1 damage as intended at the end of the day, right? Nope. With this glitch known as the Superceptor, Corbo can do more damage to most enemies than his citizens can even dream of. Right, let me explain. While Corbo is performing a Scepter attack, he can't open up the field menu. And while the field menu is open, he can't perform a Scepter attack. But if the player pressed the plus or minus button on the same frame as the C button, then Corbo can perform a Scepter attack while this menu is being opened. This on its own isn't useful, but we're not done. If the player opens any screen on this menu, normally the game freezes in place until the player quits. However, if one of these menus is opened on the same frame that the hitbox activates, then the hitbox will lengthen for the duration of the screen's opening animation, meaning the 1 HP damage is repeated for every frame. In other words, this is a double frame perfect input that turns this single hit move into a multi-hit death machine because it freezes the attack in place, dealing massive damage to anything it touches. Do I even need to tell you that performing this technique consistently forms the crux of any percent speedruns? Outside of king fights, where the field menu is replaced with the boss's god memo, this trick basically nullifies half the real-time strategy mechanics in this real-time strategy game. Man, this game sure is broken, huh? No, not really. Not at all, in fact. The game is stupidly polished given its large size and troubled development. These are things you'd never notice casually and don't really affect the experience. They're so trivial they actually make me appreciate the game that little bit more, and gives it just a little more depth. At the end of the day, every game has its harmless jank, and so while the Scepter may be wonky, I don't know. I just think it's neat.